when British SAS overpowered some IRA insurgents. On 6 March 1988, 3 suspected IRA insurgents were gunned down by British SAS soldiers. The trio was believed to be planning a car bomb attack on British military personnel in Gibraltar. They were shot dead while leaving the area where they parked a car with the supposed bomb. However, all 3 were found to be unarmed and no bomb was found in the car. This led to several accusations that the British government had conspired to murder them. But what really happened that day, and why did British forces kill 3 unarmed individuals in the middle of the street? Today, we're going to dive into the story of how British SAS overpowered some IRA insurgents. In late 1987, British intelligence received some intel regarding an IRA plan to target British soldiers in Gibraltar. In response to this threat, a covert Special Air Service unit was assigned the mission to intercept and neutralize the IRA operatives before they could carry out their plans. The Provisional Irish Republican Army, also known as the IRA, was an insurgent group whose main aim was to establish a united Ireland and in the British administration of Northern Ireland, and they weren't shy of using force to get what they wanted. Before we continue, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell to get notified anytime we post amazing videos like this. Alright, back to the video. The organization was a result of a split within the Irish Republican Army back in 1969. The other group, known as the official IRA, had already stopped all of its parliamentary activities by the 1970s. The IRA, on the other hand, were still looking to settle the score they had with the British government. They murdered countless individuals. It didn't matter whether they were civilians, soldiers, police officers, judges, or prison staff. They even went after off-duty and retired military personnel. Their actions weren't limited to just committing murder. They also targeted businesses and military outposts. And they didn't confine their activities to Northern Ireland alone. They extended their reach to England as well. All of this was part of their grand plan to create chaos and disorder in Northern Ireland, with the ultimate aim of putting an end to British rule. By late 1986, the IRA had shifted its focus toward driving out British forces stationed in Northern Ireland. As a countermeasure, the British government intensified its efforts to monitor the activities of IRA members to prevent any potential future attacks. As part of this countermeasure, the SAS initiated a consistent cycle of deploying its troops to Northern Ireland, collaborating closely with local Irish police and elements of the IRA. The British SAS first got involved in Northern Ireland during the early stages of the British Army's presence, mainly operating in South Armagh. However, it wasn't until 1976 that they expanded their operations by sending in D Squadron. The SAS stood out quite differently. They specialized in covert intelligence-based operations against the IRA, using more aggressive tactics than regular army and police units. By early 1987, Republican guerrilla operations began. The SAS had already carried out 22 distinct attacks, primarily targeting police stations. Despite some successful prevention efforts, the IRA was pretty good at such attacks, and they were not about to stop anytime soon. On May 8th, Irish local police intercepted a phone call between 2 members of the IRA. They were planning an ambush at a police station at Lugal, Armagh. Immediately, a joint team consisting of SAS operatives and local police formulated an assault plan as they efficiently surrounded the Lugal station, which had been evacuated before time. Police snipers mounted at strategic positions, while SAS operatives spread out across the nation's premises and the adjacent countryside. This was to prevent any potential escape attempts by IRA members following the assault. At around 7:20 p.m., an 8-man IRA unit approached the police station in a stolen blue Toyota van, immediately followed by a JCB digger loaded with beer kegs filled with over 500 pounds of explosives. 5 armed individuals emerged from a van and opened fire on the police station. The gunfire hit the compound, successfully preventing security forces on the ground from intervening as the digger forcefully crashed through the main entrance and drove into the courtyard. The 3 IRA members in the excavator quickly dismounted and ran toward the gateway van outside the station in a bid to escape the blast. But unknown to them, the police team and SAS units had already prepared for this. As the IRA members entered the pre-established kill zone, they opened fire. A few moments later, the bomb went off. The explosion not only brought down a huge part of the police station, it also caused significant damage to another building about 50 feet away. Seemingly from nowhere, a white Citroen car with 2 civilians inside. The forces on ground mistook them for IRA members and opened fire. This resulted in the driver's death and the passenger sustaining serious injuries. Later investigations revealed that these individuals had no ties to the IRA and were simply at the wrong place at the wrong time. The 8 IRA members that were eliminated, however, was a huge stepping stone toward eliminating the group. Because of the events that happened that day, some of the IRA's top members suspected there might be a mole who sold out the operation to the security forces. Thus, suspicion made them more careful, and they had to halt activities so they could find the person responsible. But after searching for some time, their quest to find the mole proved unsuccessful, and they eventually had to come to terms with the fact that the security forces were solely responsible for exposing their plans. Following the loss of 8 of its top operatives, senior leaders of the IRA made a determined choice not to leave the Logall incident without retaliation. This time, they wanted to keep things as confidential as possible because they did not want what happened earlier to repeat itself. With all that had happened at Logall and in the elections, the IRA was in serious need of a win against the British government. They needed to prove that they were still a force to be reckoned with and boost the morale of their supporters worldwide. Thus, they needed to target a place crucial to the British government. And so, Operation Flavius was about to kick off. Having learned some valuable lessons from Logall, the IRA started plotting one of the most crucial missions. After looking at several locations, they picked Gibraltar for several good reasons. But they were not just going to send anyone. Seasoned IRA members Daniel McCann, Sean Savage, and Marion Farrell were handpicked to carry out the planned attack in Gibraltar. The location was seen as an easy mark because British soldiers often got stationed there after tough assignments in Belfast. You could say it was a reward. The security there was a bit more relaxed compared to other parts of Ireland. So even when soldiers were still on duty, they could usually enjoy a decent break. From the IRA's perspective, all these conditions were just what they needed for this mission to succeed. Besides, an attack on Gibraltar wouldn't be frowned on by the outside world, as it was one of the last places that reminded the world about Great Britain's colonial past. Most importantly, a strike on the military presence there would deal a huge blow to the British Armed Forces and also send a strong message to the British government. On 6 March 1988, the day of the operation, Savage managed to slip into Gibraltar unnoticed, driving a white Renault 5. He was spotted by an MI5 officer who started tracking his movements. However, it took nearly an hour and a half to positively identify him. During this period, Savage parked the vehicle in the car park where the military building was located. A few hours later, McCann and Farrell were seen crossing the border from Spain, and they were also closely watched by the authorities, but they had no idea. They met up with Savage in the car park. Shortly after that, the 3 began walking through the town. Once the IRA members moved away from the parked car, a military explosives expert conducted a visual inspection of the vehicle, walking by to check for any potential indicators of a car explosive, but there was no apparent sign of anything unusual. However, it remained possible that the car might have been rigged with a lightweight plastic explosive like Simtex. The car's radio antenna also raised some concerns, as it could be connected to the explosive. After authorities confirmed the identities of the 3 suspected victims, the local police chief handed over control of the operation to the SAS. Their mission was simple: move in and arrest the IRA unit. The SAS operatives were in civilian clothing, equipped with concealed radios and 9mm Browning high-powered pistols, hidden underneath their clothing, making it difficult to spot them. The team split into groups to tail both Savage and McCann, as well as Farrell. But things were about to go sideways. As the SAS teams geared up for action, a local cop, caught up in traffic and running late, turned on his car siren. The loud noise made McCann and Farrell agitated, and they began to look around if anyone was following them. McCann made repeated eye contact with one of the SAS guys who was tailing them, just about 10 meters away. Seeing that McCann had spotted him, the SAS operative pulled out his pistol and was about to shout a warning when McCann reached for something in his jacket. Worried that McCann might be reaching for either his own weapon or the car's explosive remote detonator, the SAS operative immediately opened fire. McCann was hit multiple times and went down. At the same time, Farrell was seen reaching into her bag. She was also shot by another SAS operative. A few moments after the first confrontation, another SAS team member drew his pistol and fired at both McCann and Farrell, who were already on the ground. Hearing the nearby gunfire, Savage also turned around, but he was immediately cut off by 2 SAS team members tasked with arresting him. Instead of being ordered to raise his hands, he was told to stop, but he reached down into his jacket pocket. Fearing that he could be reaching for a weapon or the remote detonator, both operatives opened fire, hitting Savage 18 times. In a matter of seconds, all the IRA insurgents were neutralized, preventing an attack that could have been catastrophic. However, this victory would soon become one of the most controversial missions ever. After subsequent investigations were conducted, it was revealed that none of the 3 IRA members had weapons, and no remote trigger was found. To make matters worse, the Renault car that Savage had parked in town contained no explosives in it. Many people now pointed fingers at the British government, saying it was all a plot to take out unarmed IRA members. This, however, turned out to be a propaganda victory for the IRA. Further investigations were carried out, and authorities eventually discovered the explosive package in Spain, connected to the IRA trio. It appears that Savage had used the Renault to hold the spot for the car explosive that was supposed to be parked there later on. In the months that followed, a comprehensive investigation was initiated into Operation Flavius and the entire incident. This was prompted by allegations that the SAS had never intended to apprehend the group. Instead, they were ordered to take them down. According to civilian witnesses present during the shootings, the IRA operatives had gestured toward surrender, but were still fired upon. Later on, Farrell's family brought their case before the European Court of Human Rights. In 1995, the court determined that the British government had breached Article 2 of the Convention. The court affirmed that the 3 individuals had been involved in an act of insurgency, leading to a unanimous rejection of the applicant's request for compensation and legal expenses. Was the trio right to have been killed, or was it an unjust plot by SAS officials? Let us know what you think in the comments.